Todd Bensman is a senior national security fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies. He's joined by Karl Rove, former deputy White House chief of staff and for President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Nathan Sales, former ambassador at large and coordinator for counterterrorism under President Trump. Gentlemen, great panel. Thank you all very much for being here. You all have a lot of expertise around dealing with these situations in real time, as Karl did in the White House under Bush, and also in dealing with these terrorism. I think, Todd, let me start with you. One of the big questions here is who are these potential terrorists from Tajikistan? Why do they want to kill Americans? What's their motivation? What do you know about this group?
Well, we don't know a whole lot yet. I believe that that there will be sealed indictments that will soon enough be unsealed. But I have met lots of Tajikistani nationals on the migrant trails. I've interviewed them many, many times. There are many coming from the stands. Those are terrorism, countries of terrorism concern, because there are militant groups that are operating there. And so when you have people from those countries crossing our southern border, usually without any identification, saying, my name is Mickey Mouse, you have a problem. That is a red light blinking right there. We have lots of Tajikistanis crossing. And in Europe, we also have seen lots of Tajikistani nationals crossing and conducting actual kinetic terror attacks. Just a couple of years ago, there was a group of 5 that crossed in over the southern border, over the European border, and were plotting, advanced stage plotting to attack American military bases in Germany. They rolled those guys up. So it's a problem in the sense that they're strangers when they cross the border. There is reporting that these guys, these 6 or 8, they did run database checks on them, and they showed all clear, which means absolutely nothing, because they may not be on the radar. Obviously, they weren't on the radar.
Yeah. Nathan, you know, we all remember learning about al-Qaeda. Basically, it stemmed from Osama bin Laden's desire to get the United States out of the Middle East, and then to attack us here at home was very, you know, at that time, unique to al-Qaeda. Then we watched ISIS behead and crucify people. And now we're told that ISIS-K, ISIS Khorasan, which is the group that these terrorists are believed to be potentially linked to, is a more extreme version of ISIS, which is a very frightening thought in terms of what they might want to carry out here. What are your thoughts on this finding and others who may be linked to them, who may be roving around the United States plotting other things right now, Nathan?
Well, Martha, the first thing we need to take account of is that terrorists are trying as hard as they can to exploit our vulnerabilities on our southern border. You know, we've really rolled out the red carpet over the past 3.5 years for illegal migration into our country, and terrorists are not dumb. They see that, and they see an opportunity. And the numbers tell a terrifying story. In 2019, there were 0 watch-listed terrorists encountered illegally trying to cross the border. 0. In 2020, that number jumped up to 3. Guess what it was last year? It was 169. That is not a good trend, and until the United States is able to get control of its border on the south, we are at grave risk of more people like this trying to get into our country to carry out ISIS-style attacks like what we saw in Moscow not too long ago. And the last thing I'll say on this is not just a hypothetical risk. We know that other terrorist organizations, particularly backed by the Islamic Republic of Iran, have been trying to exploit our southern border for years. Iran was going to use Mexican drug cartels to try and assassinate former National Security Advisor John Bolton not so long ago. They tried a similar plot during the Obama administration against the Saudi ambassador. So unless we are able to control our border, the American people are going to be at risk of this kind of threat.
Absolutely, Nathan. So the numbers that you pointed out in the beginning are policy, their White House policy. Here's a flashback to Alejandro Mayorkas in 2021.
We have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies. It would take so much time to list them.
So, Karl, the White House is very proud of rolling back the protections at the southern border, as evidenced by Mayorkas right there. You know, as someone who's worked closely with the U.S. president, What should the president be doing now in reaction to these clear warnings that the FBI director is shouting from the mountaintops right now?
Well, I think it's to talk to the FBI director and say, what more do you need? Actually, we got a good insight into what the FBI did. These people crossed the border in the spring. They were run through the terror watch list. They were not on the list. They were not tagged, but they were obviously continued to be monitored. And when additional information was arrived at, maybe that came from a conversation that one of them had in the United States. Maybe it came from foreign sources. We don't really know and may not know even when they put out the indictments of these people. But the FBI continued to monitor them, and when they found additional information, they immediately obviously began to look more deeply into them and now have arrested them. So this shows that the government, at least the FBI, is not treating this as a one-and-done thing, but if you're from a suspect country, if you're from a country that encourages or allows terrorism or from which terrorism is sprung, then the FBI is clearly doing a better job of keeping track of you. Even if you're not initially on the terror list, they're continuing to monitor you, and good for them.
Good for them, indeed. But Todd, boy, it'd be great if the number were still zero of people getting through, because once they're here, it becomes enormously complicated to track these people down. What would you like to see from the White House?
I mean, for one thing, we have to remember that this is probably a thwarted terror attack. It's not the first one. Last month, we had a Jordanian national who came over the southern border in April, conduct a vehicle ramming attack in a big, huge box truck at Quantico Marine Corps Base. Last month, also, we had a federal court in Sacramento, California, convict and sentenced to 12 years a Russian national who was from an area next to Chechnya, who was sending thousands and thousands of dollars to an al-Qaeda group in Syria. And in the court documents, they said that, and he came over the border. In the court documents, they said that this terrorist was so dangerous that had they not arrested him, he would have gone kinetic. What the administration needs to do is revert back to interviewing special interest aliens as they come across the border, each individual one, eyeball to eyeball. They're coming in with no ID. We have no idea who they are. And there was a program for years, 20 years. We've had a program in place down there where we have FBI and ICE intelligence and DIA going down there and making sure that they have some kind of a baseline on these guys before they ever get released. That program is over. It is vaporized because of the huge number. And one last thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Right. And, the issue really is that we are releasing them by accident now. They are so busy down there that guys that are on the FBI terror watch list, I've counted like 7 of these already, accidentally released into the country, and then these, panicked manhunts to go recapture them and bring them to heel.
Yeah, we got to stop them before they get into the country. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Todd Bensman, Nathan Sales, and Karl Rove. Very good to have all of you with us. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.